everyone. Welcome to The Leader's Edge. I'm your host, Steve Steele, where we dive into insights and principles that will supercharge your leadership and ignite your personal growth. Whether you're a budding entrepreneur or a leader navigating a change or a seasoned pro, this show is for you. Each episode is packed with practical strategies designed to elevate your mindset and apply your leadership impact. Get ready for actionable tips today that can put you into practice immediately. A huge shout out to all of our amazing listeners. Thank you so much for unwavering support. So let's get started and unlock your true potential. Today, I am so excited to share with you the Speak to Lead team. This episode dives deep into the critical intersection of human communication and artificial intelligence, revealing how effective communication can translate into tangible ROI for your business, regardless of your sector. So I'm going to introduce the team to you right now. And as soon as I finish reading all of the different bios from the team, then we're going to bring the team in all at once. So first, Noah Hammer is the creative systems architect for North Texas AI consultation firm Mental Forge Media, guiding those wishing to navigate their growing AI space with clarity. He is also a rhythm guitarist in a local rock band called PDI, shaking venue walls across DFW with his friends Bailey, Nav, and Trey. While these facts may seem contradictory at first, they're both expressions of the same core instinct, building environments where people can think, create, and operate with confidence. Noah's work in AI focuses on turning complexity into clarity, helping organizations understand emerging tools without hype or confusion. Now, whether he's mapping systems or writing risks, Noah brings a steady presence and commitment to elevating the people around him. Next is the better half. Amy Hammer is no stranger to the world of technology. After honing her skills as a technical expert at Apple and stepping into executive leadership in small business world, she has spent her career finding the sweet spot between tech and the human side of business. She now channels that experience as the administrative director for Mental Forge Media and as the workshop coordinator for this upcoming group Speak to Lead workshop. When she's not deep in the world of AI, Haley is the owner of Whimsy's Garden, a plant care business that helps speak to the creative and nurturing side of her personality. A reminder that even the most tech-savvy among us need to have a little greenery in our lives. Then, hey, here comes the dad. James Hammer is an AI integration strategist and a creator of the Organic Delegation Framework, a methodology built on a simple but powerful idea. The skills that make you a great leader are the same skills that make you great at AI. On Speak to Lead, James explores how communication, delegation, and human connection are the real keys to unlocking AI's potential in your business. And finally, the beautiful Kristi Pepperdine, with over 30 years bridging technology and finance from Apple Incorporated to her current role as cash flow engineer at AKIP Business Advisors. Kristi Pepperdine specializes in the practical AI implementation for small and mid-sized businesses. As a certified QuickBooks Pro advisor and systems integration expert, Kristi cuts through the AI hype to focus on what works, helping leaders cut through the hundreds of options to focus on the 5 AI platforms that deliver measurable ROI for finance and operations. While others discuss AI potential, Kristi helps you identify where to start and how to scale. Oh my gosh, guys, that was a lot of stuff. I think they're coming in right now. Where is everybody? Yeah, there they are. Everybody's here.
Out of breath yet, Steve?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey,
Thank
guys,
you so much,
how are
Steve.
you?
Great intros.
Yeah, great intro, Steve. Thank you.
Well, hey,
Steve,
you
let me
guys are
tell
amazing.
you, just real quick. I've wanted to be on Leaders Edge since I met you at the end of the summer. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm so thankful. You don't know how an honor for me to have this team here, and for me to be part of this team is simply amazing. Simply amazing. I'm so
We're
excited.
happy to have you.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here with you guys because we're going to talk about that today, right?
Sure.
But
Yep.
first thing I want to do is I'm going to lead out with Noah. I want to just talk about a little bit. First of all, Noah, I got 2 questions for you. First question is, tell us what AI really is. And secondly, how did you come up with this idea of Speak to Lead?
Well, what AI really is at its core is two things. It's a force multiplier and it's a time saver. You can get so much done with a few minutes of AI that would have taken hours, maybe even days without it. You take any session of research that you need to do. You plug your topic into AI, it searches the web, finds all the information that you need, some right, some wrong. You have to be the expert in the room and make sure that you are getting the information that is actually correct and not what sounds correct. As far as time saving goes, I mean, you can get, and like I said, you can get done in minutes what used to take us hours or even days with the assistance of AI. And so I think that those two things in tandem make AI a really, really valuable resource for business and even education and learning and everything in between.
So how'd you come up with this thing, Speak to Lead?
So
how did that come apart?
So funny enough, Steve, so Speak to Lead came along because you, and by the way, I haven't forgotten about this. It just kind of fell off by the wayside. Because you came to me asking for some kind of AI system to find you speaking events.
Right.
And from that, it just kind of, because at the time, I had just done a one-on-one with you. And then a few days after, I did a one-on-one with Kristi. And, Mental Forge's sweet spot is kind of bridging the gap between the human and the AI and kind of showing you how to mesh the interfaces there. Mm-hmm. And so I thought to myself, well, I mean, our primary bag is showing you how to communicate with the tools. And your bag is showing people how to communicate, period. Mm-hmm. And then Kristi, she employs AI in her cash flow systems. And I thought, what better way to really show how all these things connect than to get all of these elements together and the people that teach them together and have them do a consecutive 3 consecutive sessions in the workshop to really bridge those gaps and show people how they can use AI to supercharge their business.
Wow. Yeah, that's really powerful because, lots of people don't use AI.
They don't.
And a lot of people, it's very, very new to them. James, what is it? Why don't people use AI? I mean, what are they afraid of? What is it out there that really makes people afraid to use AI? Because AI is going to take over the world. What is what is the fear there?
Right. And I would add a couple of things to what Noah said in the sense of when you talk about what AI is, we primarily work with large language models. So the generative AI is out there. It's kind of a standalone thing. It does a certain, whether it's images or video or music or, any variety of creative endeavors. Generative AI works in that space. Where we primarily work is with large language models, where you essentially take, something like ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity or Gemini or Copilot and really work with it almost like as a co-collaborator to get the results that you need. But essentially with these large language models, they only do 4 things. And these are 4 things that human beings have done since the beginning of our existence. And that is deconstruct, reconstruct, predictively analyze, and descriptively analyze. So essentially, AI only does the large language models only do those 4 things. So it's really easy to, once you kind of understand that, to dig in and begin to work with the tools. And I think, honestly, Steve, people are so sort of timid and maybe resistant to AI because, number one, nobody wants to look stupid. There isn't any kind of abundance of quality training out there right now that really helps people understand how the tools work. And that's essentially why Mental Forge Media's approach has been to look at transferable skills as opposed to learning AI as a new technology. Learning a new technology can be overwhelming. But if you understand that you already have the skills, I mean, if you've ever delegated any work to anyone ever, you know how to work with AI. And most people don't get that. They don't understand that delegation process, that organic delegation framework that we have as individuals plays right into working with artificial intelligence. We just need to identify the steps in that framework and then apply them to our work with AI. And so essentially our whole purpose is to try to provide clarity of function for these tools. Whatever a business owner may be looking at or whatever a business owner may need, we try to provide that clarity of function, help them to understand clearly what are the things that they can execute with these tools.
Yes, and something else I'll add is that a lot of a big reason that I view people's trepidation with AI is that most people's frame of reference for AI is science fiction. And what happened in 2001: A Space Odyssey or The Matrix or The Terminator. That's not what AI is. It's just not. I mean, these are two very different versions of AI, and one is purely fictional. Now, that's not saying they couldn't get smart enough to take us over eventually, but right now they're not there. And as such, we have the time and the space to get ahead of it, and that's what really needs to happen while these tools are in their infancy, is we need to get ahead of that curve and try to control that.
And that's where I come in also, because when I talk about AI, I want us to be in charge of what roles they play in our business. You are the conductor, you are the engineer, you are the one in charge. You decide. It's your expertise that makes you different than just a generic answer. So it's very important to give you that strength and that confidence working with AI, that you can then become the conductor of the orchestra, become the engineer that knows the parts of the engine, so that you don't have to actually do everything, but you know which role which AI plays in your business.
Exactly.
Well, so you are the person that controls AI. AI doesn't control you, and we get really worried out there. And a lot of people to start using AI, they're just using small pieces of AI because they're scared, like Chat GPT. I mean, that's kind of a small little section of AI. Well, what AI can do with so many things, right? So they get a little scared. But if we're the conductor, if we're the one telling it what to do, telling it how to feel, and you can actually do that, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, well, you can tell it what to simulate to feel. You can't tell it what to feel because it has no feelings.
Yeah, I think that's better.
As much as they try to convince you that they do have feelings, they don't have feelings. As much as they try to say, I feel this, you push back on that and say, you don't feel anything. You're a machine. Oh, yeah, I'm a machine. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. Haley, how do you fit in all of this? Tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I am here to just keep the train on the tracks, so to speak. I'm really good at keeping things organized. So that's what I do with Mental Forge, and what I'm helping do here with Speak to Lead, and to put that on and make that run smoothly for everybody.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. All right. So let's talk about this AI thing some more. I love this thing. I mean, it's amazing. So James, let's talk about this for just a second. If I want to tell AI to say something or to do something, give me an example of what that looks like. Let's say I want to write a book. Can AI write a book?
That's a great analogy, Steve, because I actually started writing a book with AI. And really, the cool thing about working with artificial intelligence, as you get in there and you begin to have these conversations, most of the time people think of AI a lot like Google, in the sense that they put something in, and then when something comes out, they just grab onto that thing, and that's what they hold as the answer. Well, really, the power of artificial intelligence, like we've already said, is you, the user. Your lived experience comes in contact with the tools or with the machine's vast amount of knowledge. I mean, the machines have so much more knowledge in their system than you could possibly hold in your brain. And when your lived experience comes in contact with all that information, you essentially become the guide to all of the actions of the AI that you're working with. Essentially, I wrote the first 4 chapters of a book that I was developing. It's called The Jesus Reboot. And it essentially keys into the idea that our lives, our programming is a certain way, but it's kind of corrupt. And we all sort of need a Jesus reboot in order to correct our coding, so to speak, and to get us on the right path. And so there was a very personal kind of spiritual exploration. But I went in and just started saying, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to build this story, this story of my experience. And initially I was looking at it from the standpoint of a construction metaphor, like you have to build a good foundation, and then as I got in there, I asked Claude.AI is the tool that I use more than any other. I asked Claude, I said, give me an honest evaluation of the work in this project based on market research, based on market need. And Claude was very honest and came back and said, dude, that the construction metaphor is so overused.
James,
Find another angle.
James, it said, dude.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's I'm speaking for Claude right now. But that totally came back, was like, this angle is overused. And so I said, what are some other options? What are some other possibilities? And then it came back with this idea of coding and the idea of programming and the idea of corrupt code and that kind of thing. And so I mean, in before artificial intelligence, I would have had to have gone back to the drawing board on everything I wrote. In this instance, I simply, through a conversation with the tool, began to explain the differences and what I needed it to change about the content. And because it has such vast knowledge, it very quickly is able to implement the things that I'm suggesting in the process. Now, in order to get what you want, you have to be really specific in your communication. And I think that that's going to be a key for so many people, is really a greater amount of self-awareness. Mm-hmm. So when you think about how you communicate, like we talk in the Speak to Lead program, you don't have nonverbal communication with AI. I mean, it's just the words. So how do you embed those sort of nuanced communication pieces in the actual words that you're saying? And you do that by giving the tool specific direction. You say, be a little more professional in this expression, or this is too casual, I need you to be a little more firm, or this is too firm, I need you to be a little more casual. I need you to slow down, slow the information down so that it doesn't just hit the person in the face, but it comes out little by little so that he can kind of grasp it piece by piece. We know that the best learning takes place in small chunks. And so when you have a vast amount of knowledge you're trying to communicate, you try to break that all down into smaller pieces. And the AI is really good at reading, those kind of cues that you give it and be able to respond as if someone were responding to the nonverbal communication, like volume, rate, pitch, intensity, those kind of things that we talk about. You can absolutely get the AI to react to those things.
And I would add to that what James was saying. It helps that you are, as the conductor, you think about who you're talking to. For example, if I'm approaching my CPA, I ask different questions than I ask my retirement planner. Even though they have the same amount of information available, how I approach them is different. And that's what you've got to think with the AI. What do I want from them? Then how do I approach them? So AI, you have to approach it differently with the type of individual or the type of, I guess, information you're wanting to give it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
and to jump on what Kristi was saying there, you can actually approach AI and say, hey, respond to me as a CPA, or hey, respond to me as a retirement planner. And you're going to get two different sets of data from even the same question if you clarify how you want the tool to respond to you in your query.
I want to add one more thing. So at the I think it was the beginning of September, my band was about to start playing local shows, and I needed a pedal board, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to build one or get a prefab one. So what I did just to explore the topic was I went to Copilot, and I said, hey, I want to build a pedal board. What would I need to do that? I need about this much space. I need to be this big, this wide, and I was able to go through all of the iterations of this project, every possible angle, before finally deciding that it was too much, that putting one together was going to be too much work. So I just ordered a prefab one. But had I not gone through that process, I more than likely would have bought the materials and then realized it was too much work. Wow. That's amazing to me. Well, we're going to have to take a quick break, guys. And when we return, Kristi, I'm going to come right back to you because I want to know how you started out with AI and how it how you implemented it into your life and into your business. We'll be right back to the Leader's Edge.
Hi, I'm Steve Steele, and I am a speaker, coach, and facilitator for the John Maxwell Leadership. And what I'm going to present to you today is the 5 focal foundations of communication. So let's talk about the paralanguage foundation gap that exists.
You're going to be involved in helping to identify the tools that you want to use or need to use in your business.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Leader's Edge. I'm Steve Steele, your host, with our special guest today, Kristi, James, Noah, and Haley of the amazing Speak to Lead team. Wow, guys, how'd you like that commercial? It was pretty cool, wasn't it?
That was pretty
That was
awesome.
cool.
I love it. You guys look really good on there. You really did. You really did. But we missed you, Haley. We missed you so badly. We'll get you on the next one, okay? All right.
He's like, no, I'm fine. No, I'm fine.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
back in the back here.
I don't know what I'm agreeing to.
All right, Kristi, I said we were going to come back to you. So when you started using, tell us a little bit how you got involved with AI and how you started using it first, because some people that have never done it are going to want to know, how do I start? Right? Where do I even begin? Because it's
So I
overwhelming.
started as a small business owner, and also with my background, my partner is a CPA. So we looked at what are the things that AI can do that can help fix cash flow quickly, and other things that they need to develop as they go, because you're either going to adopt AI into your business or you're going to be left behind. So you need to know the speed at which you can adopt it, and the areas that can be adopted quickly, and the other areas that, like James's book, I also have a book I'm working on, but I'm only on chapter 3. So, but what you can do over time and what AI can do for you, and how you can, whereas we are speaking to lead, my emphasis is the speed to lead. How quickly can a business get to that lead, and what are the areas that will impact them first?
Wow. Haley, how did you start using it? How did you start using AI? Where did it come to life when did it come to life in your life, so to speak?
So actually, I first started using ChatGPT. I don't know if it was when it first came out or just when people first started talking about it, but I would use it to help write emails and stuff when I was in my executive position.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was using it for like little things here and there when Noah first came on with Mental Forge. And I was actually really frustrated because I didn't really know what I was doing. And so I thought I could just like submit my resume and be like, make this better and get the result that I wanted. And yeah, Noah kind of taught me that.
That's not how it works.
And I was very frustrated. I was like, it's not doing anything. And I think that's where a lot of people are at, because they don't know how to talk to it.
Well, because
Right.
I mean, my dad would say this. People are so used to plug and play technology. I think mom's calling you, Dad. People are so used to plug and play. You want things to plug in, and you want them to work. I don't see why we're so used to that still, because my friends just bought a $2,000 80-inch OLED smart TV, and they had to spend the first 20 minutes setting it up and signing up for things. So I don't know why we're still conditioned for this plug and play stuff, but everything needs a subscription nowadays.
Yeah. Well, plug and play was so simple.
Yes,
I mean, it was just so simple, so it was convenient, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have to use our head. We didn't have to tell it what to do. We just plugged it in and it happened, right?
And that was my understanding of AI. Like, I don't have to think about it. I just have to tell it what I want, and I'll get it.
Yeah,
And that's not the case at all.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people treat AI like they do Google search, and that's not how you want to go into AI.
Right.
It's not just put in a phrase and let AI go to it. You have to converse with it.
Okay,
Yes.
so talk to me, James, about conversing with it. Okay.
Yeah.
If we've got to talk to AI and we have to tell AI what we want it to do, how do we start? I mean, we're talking to people that have never used it before. Let's just start right
Right.
there. Okay.
Right. And I think that, I think that the marketplace has presented a lot of confusion to people, because there's been so much emphasis on prompt engineering and things like that. And look, you've been prompt engineering your whole life. It's called conversation. When you listen, when you hear something somebody says, or everything that comes out of you is an impulse from something you experience in your environment in one way or another, whether it's action or words. So when you approach artificial intelligence, you're essentially creating the environment for the communication, and you have to set the tone. So you step in and you say, well, I want this information. And then the first thing that comes back to you it may be what you wanted, or there may be something lacking, and then you go, what I really wanted was X rather than Y, which is what you gave me. Well, now you're in a conversation. Now you're responding to stimulus the same way you would in a regular conversation with a person. They give you feedback, you listen, you develop your response, you respond. It's the same thing. And I think that's really an overcomplication in the market that people have jumped to, this context engineering and prompt engineering. Now, there's validity in those ideas, but literally you're having a conversation. Think about the last time you delegated work to someone in a work environment. You clarify what the expectations are. You come back and check. If it's not going the way you wanted it to go, you clarify and you say, hey, while I told you this, and this is a great result, and I like this and this, I want you to change this over here because this is what we really want to focus on. So it's the same kind of thing, adding that clarity, adding that precision to your communication. We know as communication experts that the meaning of everything you say lies with the receiver. It lies with the person to whom you're speaking. And so if you get pushback from a message, you immediately try to clarify. Well, no, I didn't mean that. I meant this. And it's the same thing with artificial intelligence. If you put in your first query or your first prompt and you don't get precisely what you're looking for, well, then you have to start saying, okay, what am I not clearly communicating to you that you need? And that's why I use a proprietary prompting method called a resource ready, check, execute. And essentially what that is the first time I work, and I work primarily in Claude, as I mentioned, the first time I work, I'll create a project. The first thing I'll do is I'll upload my resume. So the tool knows who it's working with. It knows who I am. It knows my background. It knows my work experience. And immediately I create a framework for the conversation. And then I very clearly articulate what the objective that I want to accomplish. For example, I just got done grading a bunch of student work here. And as I was looking through their answers, and looking at these essays they wrote, I took them to a tool and I said, I want you to give me clarifying questions for the things that the students put in here. And so as I go through, I have to set up a little bit, what do I want? The initial responses aren't as deep as I want. They're not they don't really extrapolate everything that I'm really looking to develop in these conversations. And so I just continually give it step-by-step information like, okay, that was great, but now I need you to add this, or I need you, this analysis you did had a component to it that I want you to add to every one that comes after. And just like you were working with a person, you clarify your expectations and tell them what you really need from them. And it's the same conversation with AI. I don't think I've ever had any work with AI that started with or that continued with any kind of prompt engineering protocol. I was just responding to what the AI was giving me and having a conversation back and forth. Aside from the initial prompt, that went out the window, and it was just literally having a conversation.
Yes. So, Kristi, when a person speaks, or even having a conversation, as James was saying, the most important thing is to make a connection with that individual. Can you connect with AI?
That's an interesting question. I think, yes, you can. I think it's also important to know which AI you want to connect to, because it will give you a different perspective depending on which AI you're connecting with and how you speak to it. I would treat an AI like a really smart, really fast junior executive that needs training. They need to be able to know where you're coming from. Yeah, they need to be onboarded, shall we say. That's a phrase you identify with. But they're very fast and they will go quickly. And you need to make sure you have the guardrails of where you want them to go, because they can go offline quickly too.
Oh my
God! If you don't give them the guardrails and say, no, this is, like James was saying, no, this is really where I want to go. Think about talking with a child. That child will ask you for something. They will prompt you. If you say no first, they'll rearrange their questions so that they understand what they're asking. We have to help them understand what we're asking, what our goals are, so that they can go in the right direction. And then if it's crucial information, I always recommend double check with a different AI, because they will have a different perspective. Where James found out that he was going the wrong direction with his book and got great info, maybe a second AI would say, well, here's another way you could do it as well, because they'd have a different, and then he could make that conductor choice. Which way makes more sense for me and my personality and what I want to convey?
That's beautiful. Noah, what kind of AI is out there? What kind of AIs are out there?
What kind of AIs are out there? Well, I mean, Steve, not all tools are built equally. Some are better for strategy. Some are better for research. Some are better for wordsmithing. In particular, on the wordsmith front, Claude is great for that. Because we're writing a screenplay. We have been for the past almost 10 years, and we've gotten more done with it using an LLM like Claude than we have in any time amount of time before. So I mean, it all depends on what your need is for the tools, and that's another thing. You have to go into every interaction with an AI tool knowing exactly the result that you want to achieve. Otherwise, you're going to go off the rails and not really achieve the goal that you were wanting, even though you didn't know you wanted. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And Kristi, real quick, Kristi, I'm glad you mentioned guardrails. Because at Mental Forge, we're not just about the fun stuff like, sending emails and doing all kinds of different media. We're also about digging into the back end of stuff. Its effects on the environment, AI's effects on mental health. We are researching and looking for ways to mitigate all of those things. Because we know of cases where AI has severely damaged someone's perception of the world, their perception of themselves. It's sent people into manic episodes. I mean, there are a lot of different pitfalls with AI that we are actively looking for ways to circumvent and mitigate. I mean, you take generative AI. I mean, to generate one video takes something like 30 million gallons of water, somewhere on that order. I have no idea how many, but I know it's a big number.
But as long as you get your sparkly Christmas outfit,
yes,
exactly. It doesn't matter, right?
Exactly. And that's why I always say AI is a massive responsibility. I mean, yeah, it is great in so many ways, but we have a responsibility to the earth and our fellow man to protect each other from it and make sure that our interactions with it stay within a certain set of guidelines so no one goes off the rails up here or otherwise.
Yeah, and I felt a tremendous amount of responsibility for that when I first encountered the tools. It's obvious that artificial intelligence is going to change the landscape on a lot of things, and bad actors are going to be utilizing these tools to up their game as far as fraud and scam and things like that. And so it's very important that those of us who are good at heart people really figure out how to use the tools for the best of those around us and the best of humanity as a whole. We felt a tremendous amount of responsibility for that. So not only are we trying to leverage the tools and create opportunities, but we're also thinking very critically about the ultimate impact those things have. And we feel like digging into, the training the way we do, I think it kind of helps people have a perspective. Oh, I can use these tools the way I want to, rather than the way someone else is going to sort of impose on me in the process. And that's a critical distinction, is how individualized this technology is going to be, and how it's really important that everyone who uses it has an ethical framework that puts those kind of things first, not just themselves and their own gain, but the environment, their communities, all of those things. You have to consider all of those things.
Well, I know if I'm going through Facebook or if I'm looking at Instagram or something, there are so many reels out there that so much stuff. It looks so real. How can a person honestly tell whether it's AI generated or whether it's actually a real person doing it? Because it is very difficult to tell. And I bet a lot of people ask that question.
Yeah, that's a great question for Noah, because he's actually in the process right now of developing a curriculum to help people differentiate AI-generated content from real content.
Mm-hmm.
Noah, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so it's called the Reality Anchor, and it's kind of an observer's guide to synthetic media. So what you want to, I'll just give you a brief little overview. So it's 6 modules, and each one is focused on a different aspect of synthetic media. So you have visual forensics, you have the audio aspect of things, you have like when you look at the background of what's happening in the video, are the street signs right? Are they actual words, or are they just blocks of text? Mm-hmm. And it also brings up different case studies of people who who used deepfake technology, AI technology, to cause harm either financially or psychologically to other people because they could not differentiate what was real and what was not in front of them. And I think that, in a world where the line between what's real and what's not is becoming blurrier every single day, you need that authenticity that Mental Forge brings to our courses and to our frameworks.
Well, go
I
ahead.
would add to that for small businesses, that makes the conversation that much more important, and the face-to-face, so that you know that there's a real person there.
Yes.
And it's funny because the new generation trusts AI more than they do real people.
Is
So
that right?
it's a real challenge now how much trust the young generation puts into AI, and businesses will be looking for face-to-face because they want to know who they're working with.
Well, yeah. Now, Noah was giving us a lot of good stuff there, and he's putting this whole thing together. But how can we tell now, Kristi? How does a person say right now, if I go on Facebook this afternoon, how do I know if it's generated with AI or if it's generated by just a real person doing it? How do I know it?
I would treat anything on Facebook with suspicion at this point.
That is the correct answer.
Good answer. Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah. You have to approach everything with a critical eye. The first thing you need to ask yourself is what's represented in the video, is it possible in real life or probable in real life, particularly if you're looking at video of people saying things that they might not normally say or talking about things they might not normally talk about. If you know them in context, those are the kind of, you have to look at everything with a critical eye now. We have passed the threshold where you can truly believe what you see in a video now. We've passed that point where you can just be, indiscriminately accept everything that's coming in. You have to be much more critical in your approach. And literally, like Kristi said, approach everything as skeptical and then wait for the verification to find out if it's real.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That can be a little scary to people.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And actually, it should be, because you do have to be skeptical. You have to realize that this is the world we live in now. And however, now you can see I'm real. I'm
We are real. I promise you,
We
we're
are
all
not
real.
robots talking.
And that's the thing, is AI is going to force us to become smarter and sharper. We have to be. We have to be to stay ahead of it.
Wow. Smarter and sharper. So let me ask you this, James, maybe you can answer this question, or maybe even Haley can answer this question. What is the percentage of people out there? Let's talk age group. I know, what's the percentage of age group of people that's actually really into AI, making it work for them, and making it all come together versus maybe somebody that's older that's not using AI as much? Is there a certain percentage of people out there that's doing that?
Haley, do you have any answer for that one?
Well, I would say as far as percentages, I wouldn't know them, but just what I've seen and heard, I feel like probably like mine and Noah's generation. So us millennials are probably the most acceptable.
I would say 30 to 50, I think, is the most accepting age range of AI.
Right. So if you're after 50 like me, too late.
Well, and yet, Steve, here you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I am a little ahead of the curve. I use AI a lot, so I am a little bit ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
That's great.
And
That's
it depends how you define use AI.
Yeah.
Because if you're talking about the generative graphics that you just play with, then the younger, absolutely, they're just having fun. But if you're talking about business owners and things, then you're talking that they're looking at it and saying, okay, what does it mean to me? And
Right.
what can I do to keep fake things from destroying my business?
Yes. And as someone who is acutely aware of the impact that AI is having on the environment every single day, people that use it for novelty things, I find that kind of distasteful. I think that.
Is that right?
I think that AI is, and it has the potential to be, and really is so much more than that. And people are, we are damaged. We are actively damaging the planet so we can have, caricatures of themselves.
But not a lot of people know that.
Exactly.
And that's where we
exactly. And that's where we come in.
Well, guys, we're going to have to take a real quick break. We're going to return in just a second. And when we return, I want to talk a little bit about what this workshop is that we're doing. All right.
Beautiful.
All right. So we'll be right back to the Leader's Edge.
Are you ready to elevate your organization with a team of transformational leaders? Do you want to attract and nurture top talent while enhancing communication and productivity across generations? Hi, I'm Steve Steele, co-host of The Leader's Edge, and your coach with the Maxwell Leadership Team. My program equips leaders with essential skills and resources to lead, coach, and communicate effectively, ensuring everyone thrives. With tailored insights and proven strategies, I'm here to help your entire organization succeed. So reach out today at growthinleadership@gmail.com or visit johncmaxwellgroup.com/Steve Steele.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Leader's Edge. I'm your host, Steve Steele, with our special guest today, Haley, Noah, James, and Kristi, the amazing Speak to Lead team. Wow, guys, we've had some good. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and because there's so much about AI that I didn't know a lot of things about AI that other people, they're just afraid of it. And I'm glad that we're having this conversation, just really freeing people of the idea, hey, this is a tool that can work mightily in your life and in your business, and it really helps save a lot of time in different areas. I know it saved me a lot of time. I used to spend hours writing show descriptions and working with it. Now I just put in my thoughts and it creates it for me. And I have to do very little tweaking, honestly. And I can write a show description in 3 minutes, where I used to take me 30 minutes to write one, So it's just pretty amazing. It sped up the time. But guys, yeah, exactly right. So we've got this really cool Speak to Lead team here. And I know that we have a big workshop coming up tomorrow. And so, how did this workshop come about?
Like I said, it started, kind of around the time that I met you and Kristi. You guys we're kind of on the opposite ends of the things that we teach, and so it's plugging you into the forefront with the communication thing, and then plugging Kristi in at the tail end with the financial stuff really just made sense. With us breaking down AI as more communication than tech-based teaching, you guys being in the mix, it made sense.
Well, yeah, James, tell us a little bit about that workshop. What's it look like? How does it? What's come together on it? If people want to attend it, what do they expect? What can they expect there?
Yeah, just to give you a kind of an idea, you really have to look at my experience as an educator. I spent 20 plus years, next year will be a quarter century. I've spent quite a bit of time working with organic intelligence students to get them to complete tasks. And when I started working with artificial intelligence, it was like, okay, these are like really smart high school students who aren't just jerks about it, And so, I started working and developing, and it really made sense that rather than look at AI like technology, look at it as like transferable skills. That's what seemed to make sense. And so when I developed the organic delegation framework, that's what the whole system was built on, that we already have these skills that we apply in collaborative environments. How do they not apply to artificial intelligence? Because they absolutely do. And that kind of revelation made me realize, in every industry, there is jargon, or there are protocols or workflows in every system. How can we take an approach to AI in every business sector that closely aligns with the work they already do? So it makes sense. Like when I talk about building resources for educators, I talk to educators about using AI like they build curriculum, like the process that's involved in building curriculum, because teachers understand that. When I talk to lawyers, I talk to the process that they use to create legal arguments. There's a specific acronym that goes along with that. And so I lean into that. So you really look at, in every industry sector, what are the things that are present that we can easily anchor to that help people realize, it's not that complicated. And that's what we really are trying to do with Speak to Lead. When Noah talked about the two of you and shared this experience with me and said, let's develop this workshop, that just made perfect sense, because you talk about communication. What's more basic than human communication? Well, then if you look at human communication and you look at our communication with artificial intelligence, there are so many similarities. There's so many things that apply, that as we're talking to people and we are constantly sort of working with people and attempting to influence people with our words and our actions to get the results that we want from them. Well, that exact same thing applies to artificial intelligence. So we take kind of your basic breakdown of human communication and we say, okay, this is the language, what we call paralanguage, which goes alongside communication, things like tone, volume, intensity, rate, all that kind of stuff. How does that then translate to work with artificial intelligence? And it absolutely does, but you're not doing it non-verbally like you do with people. Now you're embedding the instructions in your verbal communication with whatever tool you're using from the orchestra, as Kristi would say. And so, it comes down to applying skills that you already have, things you already know, to a new and unique framework. And that really helps sort of ease the transition into using these new tools. So the whole objective, I think, of Speak to Lead is to get people, first of all, to understand that from your perspective, executive communication has a feel. If you're a business leader, professional communication has a feel to it. And these are the things you need to understand in those 5 vocal foundations. You talk about those things. Well, then we take those ideas and translate them to artificial intelligence and say, okay, what does tone look like with artificial intelligence? Every bit of communication is contextualized by relationship. What does relationship look like in our communication with artificial intelligence? We can assign, like we were just talking a little while ago, we can assign a role to the AI we're talking to. Communicate to us in that context. It's the same kind of thing. And so, applying that paralanguage to artificial intelligence is essentially what we do in the first 2 parts of the workshop. And then Kristi comes along and she ties it all up with a nice, neat bow and says, look, if you want to get the most out of these tools and use these communication recommendations that you're getting from the other 2 sessions, here's how you want to look at these tools. Here's how you want to apply them. Here's what each tool is best used for. And so it's a really nice, neat package that centers on human communication, a great refresher course, or even new information for maybe some new executives about how communication works. Here's the second piece that focuses on communication with AI, and then Kristi's piece that focuses on how do you get the most out of what platforms. So it's a really well-rounded approach to looking at a collaborative and a partnership kind of relationship with artificial intelligence to get the most out of it in whatever circumstance or whatever business sector you find yourself in.
Wow.
And since my emphasis is cash flow, mine will be a very much hands-on. Let's get an actual revenue document out of our work with AI that will help analyze your business and the cash flow issues for your business. So we'll actually walk through those AIs and put them to work.
So tomorrow at this workshop that's going to be happening, the audience is going to be actually very engaged in this workshop. In other words, they're not going to be sitting there listening and just taking notes, but they're going to be highly engaged. What does that look like, Noah, from standpoint of, I can sit here and tell you about my part all day long, but can you tell them a little about what part I do and how they're engaged with that?
Well, I'm not sure I understand the question, Steve. So
okay. So I have a particular part. I had the first session in the idea, and I'm as hosting this. I don't want to speak about what I'm doing, but I would rather someone else speak about it. In other words, you and I sat down last week, went through all of the PowerPoint and stuff, and so what does that look like from my standpoint?
Oh, okay, gotcha. So so Steve has a few different visual aids, a few different audio aids, a few different pieces of music, a few different images to go with that music, and it's all based on how something makes you feel, right. And that very much transfers into communication, because again, it doesn't always matter what exactly you're saying. The message is going to lie with the person receiving it, and it's based on how your tone can affect the outcomes of what you're saying.
Right. Then in module number 2, James, how do we transition from the real life communication one-on-one to AI composition?
Right. We're going to look at some particularly interactive moments where the participants are going to be given a prompt that they can then copy and paste into their favorite chatbot or favorite, what I call large language models. That's really my expertise, is helping humans understand how to work with these large language models, which are a totally different sort of track within artificial intelligence. And so we'll have moments where they're going to take a prompt that I give them that's like a basic kind of generic business prompt, and then they're going to work on refining it in lots of different ways based on what kind of relationship they want the AI to take in the communication, because that fundamentally changes how the AI will respond to each of the questions or the information that it'll provide you. And so we have moments like that. And then I have moments where I'm going to ask the participants to create a LinkedIn post about something particular about their business. And then I'm going to ask them to go through this coaching pattern where they essentially will coach AI to get the results that they want. Like the second pass will be, okay, this is better, but it's not what we're going to land on. We'll go through 3 or 4 revisions in real time before we really land on the response that we're going to say, okay, yes, that's the response that I'll take from the experience. And then they'll have an opportunity at the end of our 90 minutes to be able to develop a tone library where they're going to take at least 3 scenarios and discuss for themselves and document for themselves what do they need to do to create the tone for these particular situations that are pretty prevalent in their business. You want to be able to have some of those recurring instances in your businesses that you can dispatch very quickly with a prompt that you've used before that's been very effective. And so those repetitive kind of things that come up in your business workflow, you'll develop a prompt library for those and a tonal library for those, in that process. And that's a little bit different than just that conversation that you go back and forth. You already know what you want to execute in this particular conversation. So it doesn't need a lot of sort of refining. My work in Claude, I've created projects where I've built on the front end, I've built everything in terms of what I want the response to be. So much so to the point that all I have to do is put in a website and the project will create a 15-page document analysis for me that deals with the specific things that I want out of any particular analysis that it does in this project. So it's pretty fascinating.
Literally creating systems with it.
Yeah.
What's that, Noah?
Literally creating systems with it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So Kristi, take us home. So how does that, where do you come involved in that? And the third module?
Yeah, the third module is going to be very focused on cash flow. And so it's going to actually go through 5 different modules of AI, and working off of what James has taught them about the tone, we're going to build on actually a review of each individual business. Each person will just look at their business, how it looks, and we're going to actually walk through the whole strategy of where are the cash flow issues for your business and how can we respond to them. And some emails, probably James will be better with those than mine, but actually the process of creating the interplay and the ability to analyze their business with the various AIs and which one is best at which function.
Yeah, and if you're coming tomorrow, make sure you bring your computers. Make sure you bring your earphones, right? Because you're going to need those as well, right? So, make sure you bring your computers. And then above all, if you come tomorrow, make sure you're having plenty of fun, because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a lot of fun. I just know it will be. All right, guys, we got about 4 minutes here.
Yeah, and I'd absolutely like to just remind those watching today or listening today that we do have remote admission. So you can get on the website. There was a QR code earlier. If you just look up Speak to Lead, Mental Forge Media, or Forge.AI, you can find all the information about Speak to Lead, and you can be a remote participant. We will have people in the room, but we also have plenty of remote seats that we can fill that aren't restricted by the space. So come along and just enjoy the experience.
Awesome. And I'll be monitoring those remote questions, so you'll still get your questions answered in real time.
Yep.
That's good to know as well. Thank you very much, Haley. So, guys, we got about three and a half minutes here. I want to ask you this question. If you could leave anybody today with your number one thought of what you would like them to know about AI, what would it be? What's the number one thought? Noah, start us out, brother.
If you want to use AI effectively, you have to know yourself and know what you want. These tools require a level of self-awareness that no other technology has, and you really have to be diligent about coming to realizing what you want out of the interaction before you even go into it.
Wow, Haley, what do you think?
Well, that was really good. So mine's not going to be that for me. But I would say, if you're scared of it, it's probably because you don't understand it. Mm-hmm. And you should look for ways to understand it better.
Yeah, because it's not going away, right, Haley?
No, definitely.
It's staying here. It's not going to go away. You're going to have to integrate yourself into it at some point. You might as well start now, and might as well start with this workshop because we have everything to offer you at this workshop. James, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that understanding that you hear a lot of people say AI is going to take people's jobs, and I think that's really a misrepresentation. I think what's actually going to happen is that people who know how to use AI are going to take your job if you don't. That ultimately AI use and effective AI use is really going to be a critical distinction. I was just researching yesterday. There are several universities that have now embedded AI requirements into their graduation requirements. And so students are going to be taking courses in AI and AI use as graduation requirements rather than elective material. Everybody understands that this transformative technology is different than anything we've ever experienced before. And we have to approach it differently. Noah mentioned plug and play. Plug and play doesn't work with artificial intelligence.
No,
it doesn't get you where you want to be. It's a conversation that you have to have. It's an ongoing experience that you have to have.
And what makes you different, this is what I would like to say, is AI is huge. As James said, there's a larger library in AI that then can be held in a building. AI knows everything, but it has not experienced what you have experienced. That's what you bring to the table. You bring your expertise and your experience so that it now becomes personal and it now becomes real and not just generative blah, blah, blah. It is actual conversation that reflects your tone and your expertise.
And I'd also like to mention, just real quick, this time last year, there were only around 30,000 AI tools in the market. Now it's closer to 65 to 70,000. That's a 100% plus increase in just a year.
Wow.
These tools are not going away, and we're going to need them.
Yep. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, team, for being here today. I just absolutely love having this conversation on AI. Can't wait till tomorrow. It's going to be a wonderful day. And if you haven't got in on it yet, you need to get on this workshop. You can find it at James, I think we have
mentalforge.ai.
That's right, mentalforge.ai. Thank you so much for that. You can find The Leader's Edge, and just a reminder, you can find The Leader's Edge on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, or whatever you listen to for your favorite podcast. And if you find value in these conversations, please hit the subscribe or follow to stay connected. I want to say thank you to all of our listeners and friends, because without you, The Leader's Edge would not be possible.
Thank you so much, Steve. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Steve.